Maybe Jeffrey Epstein is still alive.
In this latest new Epstein release, it has just been discovered that there are two different accounts of what happened on that night in the logbooks.
What if Jeffrey Epstein didn't die in 2019, but just was let go? Because right now, people aren't asking whether Epstein is dead. They're asking why accounts tied to his name were active long after his death and why one of them was playing Fortnite. We are talking about usernames, activity timestamps, and digital footprints that shouldn't exist unless someone wants us to believe this is all a coincidence. And before you roll your eyes, here's the part that makes people uncomfortable. These aren't random troll accounts, and they didn't pop up once. They showed patterns. So the question isn't, is Epstein alive? The real question is, if he isn't, then who is still moving online in his shadow, and why now? Because the new Epstein files didn't just reopen old wounds, they opened something else entirely. Let's talk about what people found and why this theory refuses to die.
As if the Epstein saga couldn't get any weirder, there is now legitimate concrete evidence that supports the theory that Epstein is alive and online playing Fortnite.
So even years after his death, for some reason, Jeffrey Epstein refuses to stay buried. Now, you might just think that it's just nonsense online rumors that are keeping all the stories around him alive. But no, ever since his death, the official story has never fully settled. On paper, the case is closed. Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide in a New York jail cell on August 10th, 2019. That's what the reports say, and that's also what the investigations concluded. But for many people, the details never lined up. The guards assigned to monitor him fell asleep. The cameras outside his cell malfunctioned. The checks that were supposed to happen every 30 minutes didn't.
Two guards at the Metropolitan Correction Center have been charged in connection with the suicide of Jeffrey Epstein. They're accused of falsifying records. They were supposed to check on Epstein, but prosecutors today revealed that no one checked on the accused sexual predator for 8 hours before his death.
Now, this wasn't just any inmate. Epstein wasn't a street criminal or a low-level offender. He was deeply embedded in elite circles, financiers, politicians, royalty, and media power players. Epstein knew people with influence, people with leverage, people who had a lot to lose if he were to ever open his mouth. So when someone like that dies under circumstances filled with gaps, delays, and unanswered questions, the silence doesn't end speculation. It feeds it.
I don't believe he committed suicide. I spent time with Jeffrey, and he's an egotistical maniac.
Haley Robson is one of the women recruited by Jeffrey Epstein for sex. She was 16 years old, a high school student at the time, when she first met the man who would be accused of sex trafficking.
So that's why, even now, conspiracy theories haven't faded. If anything, they've evolved. Some believe Epstein was simply too valuable to be allowed to die. Others argue that his connections made it possible for him to disappear. And we are not talking about some prison break type of stuff, but rather just a little bit of paperwork, time, and a lot of confusion. And here's where things get interesting. Because for years, these theories lived purely in the abstract, the missing footage, the conflicting autopsy interpretations, and the redacted documents. But recently, something new entered the conversation. Something so controversial that, according to some people digging far too deeply, shouldn't exist at all. You see, one of the first things people noticed was a YouTube account called Littlest Jeff 1. Now, at first glance, it looked insignificant, just another abandoned profile, until someone pulled a receipt. A YouTube charge tied to that account dated May 2019, a whole 3 months before Epstein's reported death. That alone doesn't prove anything. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. According to newly released Justice Department documents, Littlest Jeff 1 was an email handle Epstein actually used. Then someone noticed something else. That exact username began appearing outside YouTube on third-party tracking sites connected to a player profile by the name Littlest Jeff, one that had been active inside Fortnite. Now we are not talking about the dark web, but a mainstream platform millions of people log into every day. The account was private, then suddenly it wasn't accessible at all. Screenshots taken before it disappeared showed gameplay stats spanning multiple seasons, including periods after Epstein was officially declared dead. And here's the part that stopped even skeptics in their tracks. The activity wasn't coming from New York or the US at all. It appeared to be originating from Tel Aviv, Israel. When people tried to pull archived versions of the profile to verify what they were seeing, the trail went cold. The Wayback Machine had nothing saved. And And it didn't stop there, because around the same time, another account surfaced, this one on World of Warcraft. Different platform, different game, same alleged digital fingerprints. The account showed long-term play history, multiple characters, alternate builds, patterns consistent with someone who didn't just log in once, but came back repeatedly. So now the question shifts. Not, is Epstein alive? That's too easy, too loud. The real question is this: if it wasn't him, then who was using identities tied so closely to him, and why keep them active at all? Because impersonating a dead man is one thing. Maintaining his digital presence is something else entirely. And once people noticed that, the conversation changed forever. Epstein confirmed alive through Fortnite definitely wasn't on my bingo card. Rich men don't kill themselves, they always have options. Epstein returned before GTA 6. That arrogant bastard would hide in plain sight.
Imagine faking your death and people finding out that you're still alive because you bought items on Fortnite. People who are way smarter than I am found out his email was linked to this Fortnite account. This Fortnite account is still active. So either he's still alive or the kids are playing on his Fortnite account. And honestly, if it was the kids, I wouldn't even be surprised. Like look at these stats. This is not a bad player. I don't think he's that good at Fortnite.
Now here's where this story gets even weirder, because just as people were questioning digital footprints and private accounts, a video started spreading. A photo posted on Instagram by the account uncensored_lens_ racked up over 1.5 million views, claiming to show Jeffrey Epstein alive in Tel Aviv, the same city linked to the alleged Fortnite account activity. The photo shows a bearded man who bears a striking resemblance to Epstein, walking calmly through a public area, flanked by two men who appear to be acting as security. The post pointed directly to Israel's intelligence history, referencing documented Mossad covert operations, a reminder that intelligence agencies have extracted high-value individuals before. And the comment section, it exploded. Some immediately called it fake. One user claimed the original image carried a watermark. Another pointed out signage that didn't line up geographically. Others argued the footage showed clear signs of AI manipulation, but buried among the skepticism were comments that refused to dismiss it outright. I don't believe he died. That guy knows too many secrets. That divide, disbelief versus suspicion, is exactly why this clip went so viral, because it didn't exist alone. It surfaced after the digital accounts, after the prison contradictions, after the newly released documents. Each piece on its own is dismissible. Together, they create something harder to ignore. And this is where the conspiracy splinters. Some believe Epstein was extracted, others think someone is deliberately keeping his shadow alive. A few argue that the chaos itself is the point. Muddy the waters long enough and the truth gets lost in the noise. Whether that man in the video was Epsteinian impersonator or something generated entirely, the effect is the same. The myth survives. And once a myth refuses to die, it stops being about evidence and starts being about who benefits from the confusion. Now, amid all this noise and the speculation stacking on top of speculation, the story finally hit a wall. Because once the rumor crossed into mainstream gaming spaces, Epic Games had to step in. The creators of Fortnite publicly addressed the claim that Jeffrey Epstein was still alive and secretly playing the game, and they didn't mince words. Epic's communications team took to X to shut the theory down, calling it exactly what they believed it was: a manufactured ruse that spiraled out of control online. But that wasn't the end of it. Epic's CEO, Tim Sweeney, personally weighed in, adding another layer of context that dramatically undercut the narrative. According to Sweeney, the account at the center of the storm didn't belong to Epstein or anyone connected to him. Instead, it belonged to an existing Fortnite player who changed their username after the name LittlesJeff1 surfaced in newly released documents. And here's the crucial detail most people miss. Fortnite tracking websites only show a player's current username, not any previous ones. So when screenshots began circulating, they captured a name change, not a resurrected digital footprint. Sweeney went even further. Epic confirmed that they have no record of the email addresses referenced in the public documents ever existing within their system. And since those documents went public, Epic says multiple users have attempted to create look-alike accounts using similar usernames and email formats, essentially muddying the water on purpose. In other words, what looked like a ghost in the machine was more likely the internet doing what it does best. But here's the thing, even after the denial, even after the explanation, even after the receipts, the rumor didn't die, because once a story reaches this point, it stops being about whether it's true and starts being about why so many people were willing to believe it in the first place. And this is where stories like this refuse to die, because the Epstein case isn't just another conspiracy, it sits at the crossroads of power, secrecy, and broken trust. When someone connected to the world's elite dies under questionable circumstances in a system already riddled with contradictions, people don't move on, they dig in. The discovery of online accounts allegedly linked to Jeffrey Epstein after his reported death poured fuel on an already burning fire. And while the evidence looks convincing at first glance, it's still not conclusive. Whether these digital footprints belong to Epstein himself, skilled impersonators, or coordinated hoaxes remains unanswered. But that uncertainty is exactly why the theories thrive. In a digital world where identities can be altered in seconds, usernames recycled, and screenshots stripped of context, truth becomes harder to pin down than ever. And when official explanations arrive late or feel incomplete, the internet fills in the gaps on its own. This case isn't really about Fortnite or YouTube or even Epstein anymore. It's about how quickly speculation turns into belief, how suspicion spreads faster than facts, and why stories involving powerful people never fully reach closure. Because when questions outnumber answers, conspiracies don't need proof, they just need doubt. And until every loose end is tied, stories like this will keep resurfacing in places no one ever expects. Anyways, let me know what you think. Till next time, bye.